You cannot transform someone who has no interest in transforming themselves. And trying usually costs you pieces of your own stability. When you're dealing with toxic behavior, it can feel like you only have two choices: fight back or collapse inward and tolerate it. But there's a third response, and it's the one emotionally regulated people choose. Toxic dynamics thrive on participation. They need your reaction, your explanation, your emotional output. Because once you're activated, you're in the arena with them. And even when you think you're handling it well and giving great arguments and explanations, you've already fallen into their trap. It's surprisingly easy to miss a toxic person. Most aren't outwardly extreme at first. Their behavior reveals itself gradually through patterns like deflecting accountability, redirecting blame, rewriting conversations, and avoiding responsibility. And you might tend to rationalize these behaviors. And this is a great reason why you should be trusting the information that comes in your dreams every night. We are 1,000 times more emotionally perceptive in our dreams than in waking life. And toxic people cannot hide from your dreams. I learned this the hard way. My dreams showed me someone gaslighting me, and I over-explained and even apologized in the dream. But when I started keeping notes in my phone with dates and specific words that were said by this toxic person, I could no longer deny the repetitive patterns. So if you don't trust yourself right now, at least let your dreams show you. A lot of people, yes, emotionally aware people, get caught in the empathy loop. You think, if I understand them deeply enough, if I stay patient, if I communicate clearly, they will evolve. But this is how your energy slowly erodes. You start pouring emotional labor into someone who isn't self-reflective. And slowly your empathy stops being about compassion and starts becoming self-abandonment. There's a comforting narrative people hold on to. They don't realize what they're doing. And sometimes that's true, but not always. Many individuals are highly conscious of how they redirect tension away from themselves. They know how to turn accountability into accusation, how to shift focus when they're confronted, and create confusion even when something seems very clear cut. And the more you try to clarify the reality of the situation, the more entangled you become in their distortion field, because the conversation stops being about truth and becomes about control. Rarely does unhealthy behavior arrive loudly. It starts subtly. Small dismissals, light mockery, apologies that redirect blame, statements like, "You're taking it too personally," "You always make things bigger than they are." Individually, these moments seem minor, but they accumulate, and over time, they begin reshaping how you see yourself. One of the earliest signals isn't cognitive, so it's not in your head, it's somatic. You will feel it in your body before you even understand what's happening. So you might feel tension or subtle dread before interactions with a certain person, or relief when plans get canceled. Your nervous system processes relationship safety faster than your rational mind. If you doubt yourself, your dreams will show you the truth of what you're dealing with. You may dream of unsettling atmospheres, unclear threats, being in spaces that feel off without obvious danger, because your system is always scanning for incongruence, especially in your dreams. So, acknowledging toxicity isn't about villainizing people. It's about recognizing how compatible your nervous system is with the person in your bubble. Someone can be wounded and still not good for you to be around. Someone can be struggling and also harmful to engage closely with. The impact of the relationship on your heart is what matters most. It matters more than what you hoped or intended for the relationship. What it comes down to is that smart people disengage, not because they're weak, but because they understand something crucial, that boundaries must be enforced. A lot of people misunderstand boundaries. They think boundaries are demands placed on others, but they're not. They're behavioral decisions you make for yourself. So it's not that you declare, you need to stop speaking to me like that, but it's more like you need to say, if this continues, I'll step away. One tries to regulate the other person while the other regulates your participation. Dreams often rehearse this shift in your boundary through imagery like leaving conversations, walking out of buildings, closing gates or doors, because you are now practicing exit pathways. Your dreams are helping you by showing you what you might do in what if scenarios, and pay attention to how you act in that dream. Are you explaining? Are you avoiding? Are you confronting? Many people believe that clarity solves everything. If I explain myself thoroughly, then they'll understand. But individuals invested in control aren't seeking comprehension, they're seeking leverage. So they question, poke, redirect until you're defending your own reality. And once you're defending, again, you are hooked. Emotionally regulated people don't over explain. They communicate once and then let their actions enforce the message. Silence isn't avoidance, it's containment. When you stop feeding reactive exchanges, you remove the fuel source. You're no longer participating in circular arguments designed to destabilize you. Dreams often reflect this shift through watching rather than engaging, observing chaos from a distance, being present but energetically uninvolved, because you are learning non participation. Toxic dynamics erode your identity slowly. You begin confident and gradually start second guessing yourself. You question if your tone is okay. Are your reactions acceptable? Are your needs really needs? You might hear you're too sensitive, you're overcomplicating things. Over time, those narratives can really stick. Dreams may show scenarios where you've shrunk in size, you're being evaluated, maybe you get an F on a paper when you know you should have gotten an A or at least a C, or you're trying to prove credibility, so you're looking for credentials or explaining how qualified you are. Because over time, your sense of self was being negotiated externally from you. And don't be surprised when you start setting limits and not everyone celebrates it. Some people benefited from your overextension, so your growth disrupts their comfort. You may hear, "You've changed." What that really means is that you're no longer tolerating what you used to. Dreams during this phase often show you outgrowing spaces, moving out of old homes, separating from familiar groups, because your identity field is reorganizing. One of the hardest realizations is this: no amount of patience, insight, or compassion can substitute for someone else's willingness to self-examine. Change is internally elected, not externally induced. Toxic cycles continue because they operate on intermittent hope. They acknowledge you briefly, offer temporary repair, and then they revert. And you remain emotionally invested in the possibility of transformation. Dreams may show this as fixing something that breaks again, returning to the same unstable structure, trying to repair what won't hold, because you're literally cycling in futility. Emotionally intelligent people don't spend their lives trying to transform others. They focus on regulating their own participation. They notice patterns early. They trust their intuitive signals. They establish behavioral limits. They disengage from destabilizing loops, not from a point of superiority, but from self-love. This is maturity. And the moment you stop trying to rescue people from patterns they're committed to maintaining, you reclaim the life you were meant to live.